All right, all right. We are live. We are set. World indoor champs. We're wild so far. Just the start. Yeah, it's crazy. Oh, let me actually even fix my microphone. Let's see. Okay, hold on. Let's see. My bad. Just making sure the microphone is good. Yeah, the final definitely delivered. Like it definitely delivered. My bad. I just want to get the microphone on point. I think. All right. Give me 1 second, yeah. Okay. All right. Now we should be good. All right. Let's see. Okay, perfect. All right. Dope. So, yes, this was insane. This was insane. Like 60-minute final. So we gonna talk about it. We gonna talk about it, right? The final delivered. Hello. Appreciate y'all for jumping in. Yeah, I mean, I guess World Athletics got it right. Right. They did. They with that promo poster, they had, Bromell, they had, well, in order in theory, right? Jordan Anthony, Kishane Thompson, Trayvon Bromell. That final was close though, too. It was like, you know what I'm saying? That was close. It was very, very close. Yeah, tough for Jeremiah Zoo. We'll talk about it. He had the fastest like non-medaling time in history, which is wild, which is absolutely wild. All right, dope. So let's just go ahead and get started because this men's 60 meters. So I'm gonna dive in and talk about kind of everything that did go down today between the 60 meters. Also going to talk about the 400, the heats and the semis, and then also the men's triple jump and the women's high jump. But listen, we got to talk about this 60 meters. 60 meters, men's 60 meters, absolutely delivered in every way possible. In almost every way possible. I mean, if we got like a 6'3" or something along those lines, that would have been absolutely crazy. But we're talking about Jordan Anthony, 6.41 seconds to get the gold medal. Kishane Thompson, 6.51 seconds to get 6.45 seconds, sorry, to get the silver medal, and Trayvon Bromell 6.45 seconds to get the bronze medal as well. And they don't have it up here. Well, they were separated by like literally thousandths of a second. Like it was insane. Thousands to determine the silver and the bronze medal. And then you had Jeremiah Azu getting fourth place in 6.45 seconds. Like obviously I'm gonna circle back to like the rounds and all that, but I think this is insanely impressive. So just for some initial context, I'll come back to this later, but like this is literally the final. You have Jordan Anthony, you got Trayvon in there, you got Kishane in there, you got Jeremiah Azu. Like that is how close this race was. That is how close this 60-meter race was. I mean, first off with Jordan Anthony, right? I'm going to go through everybody. I'm going to talk about Brian Levell, Akeem Blake, all them. But just with Jordan Anthony, so this was his first ever individual team, first ever team, for USA to represent them on the global stage. This was his first ever time competing or traveling outside of the United States as well, right? So in interviews and things like that after his heat, after his heat, he was kind of giddy. He was like, yo, like I'm just like here for the crowd, like I'm having fun, this, that, whatever. And I think it's interesting because some people might look at that as like, oh, he's not focused, or he's not going to be able to lock in and be able to get the medal. I didn't see, maybe I saw one or two, I'm on looking on Twitter and stuff, maybe I saw one or two people kind of talking about that with Jordan, but most people for the most part were just like, oh nah, we kind of smoothing through. But gets the gold medal by relatively sizable margin, right? You're talking about 400ths of a second to be able to beat out, to get the gold medal. That's a bigger, I'm going to look through past, 60-meter races, 60-meter world indoors, but that's like a bigger margin, for example, than what Christian Coleman beat Noah in 2024, or even, 2022, obviously when, Christian Coleman, Marcel Jacobs, they both ran 6.41. But like, this was like not close. Like in theory, it's close, but it's like he was very clearly the winner. And I think it kind of highlights the general, I don't know if it was general sentiment, but obviously y'all been seeing me talk about it where I said that Jordan was the slight favorite, though I wasn't like, oh, he's a clear favorite, but just almost a slight favorite. I think this performance kind of does, indicate that. And what's also very impressive is this 6'4" by him. It moves him up, of course, just happened. So World Athletics didn't put it up, moves him up to equal number 4 all time, like equal number 4 all time. Christian Coleman, Maurice Green, Ronnie Baker, Andre Kishane from all the way back in the 90s, and then Lamar Marcel Jacobs, all of them with 6'4" and below. Now Jordan Anthony ties them to become number 4 all time. Like, think of what he had run last year while he was in the NCAA. He had run 6'4", was it 6'4'7", if I'm correct, right? In the heats of the NCAA, and I think 6'4'9" to win the title. But he dropped all the way down and showed consistency in 2026. You're talking about running, 6'4s multiple times throughout the year. He now drops down to 6'4'1". He wasn't phased by, the first time being outside the country. He wasn't phased by arguably the deepest, 60-meter field, that we've seen in a few years at this point. You're talking about multiple athletes who have outdoor medals in the 100. You're talking about two world indoor champions. Like, Jordan Anthony is the newcomer on the block, and he was not phased. Like, I give him a lot of props for actually showing up and really putting down a good performance here. I definitely see y'all talking about, okay, what can he do outdoors? We're going to circle back to that for everyone. But huge shout outs to Jordan Anthony for, again, really showing up here. This was an amazing performance. After that, listen, Kishane Thompson to get the silver medal. Now, as I said, the only person I said was like that I personally did predict was Jordan Anthony. As I said, okay, he's the slight favorite. I thought that all the other guys between Kishane, Trayvon, Jeremiah Azu, Akeem Blake, Brian Levell, I thought all of them were kind of in the same bucket across the board. I'm going to be honest, obviously, you have seen what I've been saying, where I was not sure of what Kishane would truly be capable of, when we did get to this final, because even though I knew he could run 6'4", he's only done it outdoors. So I wasn't exactly sure, okay, is this going to translate into a 6'4" performance here? And I think it was funny because in the heats, he ran 6'5'6", which tied his indoor personal best, right? That he had ran last year and this year already, last year in Kazakhstan, this year in Stockholm. But he gets his silver medal here, and literally by a hair, by 1,000th of a second over Trayvon Bromell. So this gives Kishane, I guess, two things. One, it kind of proves that he is able to translate, those outdoor performances into indoor success, right? He had run 6.46 seconds outdoors, and last year he ran 6.48. Now he gets a very, very clean and comfortable not comfortable. Let me not say that because it was close. 6.45 personal best, big performance. That moves him, 6.45 kind of down there, but moves him to equal number 16 all time, which is a really, really good, strong performance. But then on top of that, this gets him another silver medal. And yes, unfortunately, the Silver Surfer, it's interesting thing, right? This gets him another silver medal. Don't worry, I'm going to talk about Brian Levell. This gets him another interesting thing, right? Because it is kind of the trend of him getting, consistent silver medals. I personally do like the consistency, even if it is like, can't get over that hump, right? Between 2024, barely getting edged out for the silver at the Olympic Games in the 100. 2025, also getting run down by Oblique Seville, to get the gold medal there. And then here, this wasn't even getting run down. This was like Jordan Anthony was already gone and he had to hold on. Well, actually, he kind of did, Kishane kind of did slightly run down Trayvon Bromell and obviously just out-leaned by 1,000th of a second. But another silver medal. Again, we're going to talk about outdoors in just a second, but big shout out to Kishane Thompson, for his performance here. And then finally, Trayvon Bromell, as I said. So this one is also just as big. So we know Trayvon Bromell, obviously 2016 had gotten the gold medal at the World Indoor Championships in Portland, Oregon that year. That was just his first full year out of college, or well, it wasn't even a full year out of college, but he had just turned pro. He had just come off winning the bronze medal at the World Championships in Beijing. Then he circled back, World Indoor Champs 2016. He actually beat out Asafa Powell for that gold medal, which was a very, very, which is a huge performance. And then now here he runs 6.45, again, 1,000th of a second behind Kishane Thompson. And what's crazy is this kind of does show the landscape of the 60 and just sprints in general making so much progress, because back in 2016, Trayvon Bromell ran 6.47 seconds to win the gold medal. Even though, despite that, Asafa Powell, I think twice in the rounds in 2016, Asafa Powell had run 6.44 in the heats and 6.44 in the semifinals. But Trayvon, 6.47 back then, now 6.45. And I love the consistency in the 6.4 range. What's also impressive is if we look back in the semifinals, Trayvon Bromell was kind of wilding. Like what did he run? He ran 6.42 seconds in the semifinals of the 60 meters. This was like a very, very comfortable semifinal for Trayvon Bromell, right? Now, granted, he did drop back to that he dropped back to the 6.45. So maybe there's an aspect of like, there's an aspect of, I don't know. I don't want to say pressure to a degree, but it's like, maybe just the mindset of, okay, I got to be ready. Like, this is my moment. I got to perform. I'm, the former champion, et cetera, et cetera. So, all those kind of things might have come into play. But I mean, the consistency for Trayvon Bromell was here. And again, I was talking about it in the last live where it's like, I don't know how many athletes, especially in the 60 meters, there's nobody in the 60 meters who's ever gone 10 years between winning medals. And then when you're talking about the sport in general, there's very, very, very few athletes who have gone a decade between when they won their first medal and their last medal, right? Again, we're talking, Shelly Ann Fraser-Price throughout her career. We're talking, Allison Felix. You're talking about Carl Lewis, Justin Gatlin. There's a select few athletes who have been able to go 10 years throughout their career. And considering what Trayvon Bromell has gone through, like injuries, all that, crazy. So just to circle back here and talk about Jeremiah Azu, because and some of the other guys as well. Jeremiah Azu, 6.46 seconds. This is the fastest time in history. This is the fastest fourth place time in history, and the fastest time to not win a medal at the World Indoor Championships, like in history. This is an insane performance. And so on the surface, I think this kind of highlights, at least to me, why all these guys were so close and how someone like a Jeremiah Azu was a kind of sleeper. Even though he was the world champion from last year, this to me, even though he didn't get on the podium, kind of backs up and justifies the idea that he realized what the landscape of the event was this year, where yes, he ran last year, he ran 6.49 to win the gold medal, but the field wasn't as high quality as it was this year. He also had run 6.49, I think, at British champs or European champs. I think European champs last year. But then this year, he runs 6.47, in the, on the circuit ahead of the World Indoor Championships, because he realizes, oh, nah, Kishane's about to be there, Trayvon about to be there, Jordan about to be there. I can't be running 6.49 anymore. I have no choice but to step things up. And then also we look in the semifinals, and what did we see again from Jeremiah Azu? He runs 6.45 as well, right? So it's just the idea that he realized the landscape of the event, and it's like, nah, I cannot, stay stagnant. I have to step things up. And then eventually we get to that final where Jeremiah Azu, he runs at 6.46. And again, this is by far the fastest non-medal winning time in the history of the 60 meters. There was only 3 other times. I'm going to pull these up, but only 3 other times in history that we've seen. Well, no, not even that we've seen. So just to circle back, 2018 at the World Indoor Champs, where Christian Coleman won gold, 6.52 by Ji Zhenyi. He had run 6.52 for a personal best. That was previously the fastest time to not get a medal at a World Indoor Championships. That was previously it, right? Same thing. I think it happened in, 2014. Actually, one of our favorites, my man Su Bing Tan. He had to run 6.52 seconds as well to get fourth place. And then all the way back in 1999 in Mabeshi, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, in Japan, we also did see 6.52, to get fourth place. So again, this just highlights how insane this final was. 6.46 to not win a medal and to finish fourth place in the 60 meters. Insane from Jeremiah Azu. Huge shout outs to him, but it is the game. It is what it is. I mean, like all these guys, Kishane Thompson, Olympic and world silver medalist, Trayvon Bromell, world indoor champion and 2-time world medalist, Jordan Anthony, he's now kind of like entering himself into the conversation, and he's run He's run a 9.7 windy Windy. Let's be clear, Windy 9.75 last year. So, or yeah. So these people are going to be a threat. Again, we're going to talk about the outdoors in a second. But what happened to Brian Levell? And also what happened to Akeem Blake? I think someone asked that. But first of all, Brian Levell, I actually don't know, but through the rounds, and also I'm gonna, just because I want to make sure I can call it out, because I'm never gonna back down. Let's see. Yeah. So someone said, nah, you were saying Levell over Kishane. I was saying, and again, all this is on video, so you could say, I actually was saying that Brian Levell has probably more untapped potential than Kishane. That's what I was saying. Now, I'll gladly admit that I was wrong. Well, whatever. I'll gladly admit that I was wrong on that capacity, right? I thought Brian Levell was going to do, drastically better than he did here. But I also was very clearly said that any of the 6 guys, right, between Jordan Anthony, Kishane Thompson, Trayvon Bromell, Jeremiah Zoo, Brian Levell, and Akeem Blake, I personally said any of those 6 guys were in contention for the medals, right? And again, you could circle back. So, I did think that Brian Levell was going to do drastically better than he actually did here. Obviously, he got injured. So we saw him in the, we saw him pull up in the race here. Apologies, I'm not going to play the video just to make sure I'm not, getting stricken for anything. But we saw Brian Levell actually pull up in the race here, and then he just kind of jogged things in afterwards, and that was it. So, so no idea. Obviously, maybe he got injured. I'm assuming he got injured, right? You don't pull up and then run 7 seconds walking across the line if you're not injured. But it seems like that was the case with Brian Levell. Disappointing, but I guess it's a question on how much he would have progressed, and actually what kind of damage he would have done. When we did get to the final. Oh, appreciate you, Dynamics. Appreciate you for posting the video up. Because if you look in the rounds, let me just go into the heats. So, for example, in the heats, yes, we saw Brian Levell open up with 6.53 in the heats. But then he got to the semifinals and he once again runs 6.53, right? And sure, 6.53, great, indoor personal best and all that. But when you start to look at his comparison to the other guys, where Kishane Thompson, who also, as I said, I don't like to compare the indoor performances to outdoor performances. So I had questions on both Kishane and Brian, even though I said Brian has a little more upside. But Kishane ran 6.47. So at that point, Kishane was like, nah, I'm good. I'm ready. Right? I'm ready to actually compete for a medal here. Whereas Brian, he had the quote unquote much easier heat. We got to be clear. Brian Levell had the easiest heat. Like he had the easiest heat. He runs 6.53, whereas all the other heats, you got Trayvon Bromell and Kishane running 6.4s. In heat 3, you got Jordan Anthony, Jeremiah Zoo, running 6.4s. Brian was able to coast to a 6.53, didn't give a good indication of like what he would be capable of. So it makes me question on what he would have actually done in this final here. Because Kishane Thompson had to look at Trayvon Bromell in the semifinals and literally say, what you got? My bad. Second semifinal. And Kishane Thompson had to look at that and be like, oh, nah, I don't have a choice. I have to show up in this final. Like, I can't chill, an hour later, right? And then in Brian's heat, he didn't have that pressure, right? Even with the last heat with Jeremiah Zoo, he had to run right next to Jordan Anthony like, oh, I have to step it up in the final. So that brings you to the top 4 guys who, in the final, to the top 4 guys and their eventual placings. Whereas, Brian Levell, again, question on what he would have done. So, but shout out to Dynamics, appreciate that. So Leighton Levy, he actually revealed in a YouTube short that Levell had sprained his ankle. So that makes a lot of sense because, again, I think it was just, he had a decent start, but then he just immediately kind of shut things down. So that was like, yeah, that was it for Brian. So unfortunate, outcome for him there. Again, I thought that I still believe that he has a lot of potential, but based on his rounds, I'm not sure what that would have actually translated to into the final. And especially, again, the key there is because of how he ended up in his semifinal, right? Where he was alone. He didn't have to face anybody. So that's the question, but we'll see what actually did play out. Last person I do want to talk about before I just kind of conceptualize outdoors a little bit and translate over is Akeem Blake. So Akeem Blake, he unfortunately did not qualify through. So even before that, in the heats, Akeem Blake, he had won his heat, but he actually was the slowest heat winner. And I say quotes, slowest in quotes. I mean, the heat winner with the slowest time, right? 6.59 seconds. So that was a question because all the other guys were running much, much faster, right? Between Trayvon, you have Simon, you have Brian, Jordan, Jeremiah, all these athletes were running much faster. Whereas Akeem, his 6.59 not indicative of what he had been showing all throughout the season. Even in the outdoor races, right, later on in the season where he had finished, third place to Kishane and Brian, I don't think it was truly indicative of this. And again, even circling back, like you can circle back to whether it's New Balance Indoor Grand Prix or Millrose, where he got a terrible start. It's like he wasn't running 6.59, or obviously those are like one-off races, but he just didn't look like he was. And then, of course, in the semifinals, he unfortunately did not progress into the final, even though, which is what's crazy is he ran faster than the other two automatic qualifiers from Heat 1. Right, he literally ran faster than them, but because they actually had tied, so they both ran 6.56, I think to the thousandth of a second, they both advanced as opposed to Akeem Blake getting that advance. But regardless, I mean, that was insane. And so, yes, it was revealed. I think someone put it in the chat, but it was revealed that Akeem Blake actually did pick up a back injury about a week ago, he said. And because of that, he wasn't able to train and prepare, as he would, need to for the World Indoor Champs, but he still came here to compete. And, he just unfortunately wasn't able to progress through the round. So that's tough, happening at the most unfortunate moment. I think it's tricky because, and I'm going to talk about outdoors. I'm going to talk about Kishane and Jordan and Trayvon and all them. I think it's tricky for Akeem because immediately I saw people saying like, oh, Akeem just can't figure it out. He can't get it together, this, that, whatever. I mean, I don't know if I agree with that take because Akeem has won a medal at the World Indoor Champs in 2024. So it's not like this was some, out of the ordinary situation where it's like, oh no, he consistently can't do this. Yes, outdoors, very, very different situation. But here indoors, he's proven himself, right? He's run 6.4 on multiple occasions. He's been able to get on the podium, at World Indoors. So I think his his reasoning of having a back issue, that makes sense. And then also same thing for Brian Levell, him, picking up spraining his ankle, that makes that makes a lot of sense. So shout out to Akeem and Brian. But what does this mean? So to kind of cap things off on the 60 at least here, what does this mean? Them going into the outdoor season, do these 60-meter performances actually indicate any level of like true success? Like, will we see this translate into success outdoors? Now, on the surface, at a baseline, we know that Kishane, Thompson, and Trayvon Bromell already have proven themselves outdoors. Again, Trayvon Bromell is, the veteran of the group, having medaled in both the Usain Bolt era, 2015 Beijing, his first ever global championships. He got a bronze medal behind Bolt and behind Justin Gatlin. And then in 2022, he got another medal, at the World Championships in Eugene, right? He got the bronze medal there. So that's he's proven himself. Kishane Thompson, same situation. And I'll actually just bring this up here. So as I said, Trayvon Bromell, he's proven himself, multiple time medalist outdoors. So outdoors, I think he'll be fine. And we've seen him run 9.84 seconds last year. If he now is already in the semifinals, I don't know if I even noted this, but like in the semifinals, Trayvon Bromell, he equaled his personal best of 6.42 seconds. So clearly he is in some excellent form. Like he is basically in the best form of his life. So I have some high hopes for what he's going to be able to do when we get outdoors. Very, very excited for Trayvon. Now, with Kishane Thompson, I also am very, very excited for what this might indicate for his outdoor season. Again, similar to Trayvon, he's already proven outdoors, whether or not you say like, oh, he should have gotten gold or this, that, whatever, but like he's proven himself with the ability to get on the Olympic podium at his first ever global championships, in Paris in 2024, to once again double back and get the silver medal in 2025 at the World Championships, in Tokyo last year. And then to follow up here at his third ever global championships and once again get on the podium. So you're talking about a level of consistency from Kishane every time he steps up into a global championship final. And that's something, as I always speak about, I love to see consistency from athletes. Not only just individual times and performances, but what is it that you look like when you show up time and time again, race after race, championship after championship, against the best athletes in the world, against the competition that you're going to be facing, when you're lining up at those eventual championships. Kishane is actually delivering in, almost every way. So he is really showing himself to be a true threat. And I think him running 6.45 is definitely going to translate well outdoors. Now, I will say when it comes to like the race as a whole, you can kind of see that let me see. Again, I can't like, I'm not gonna play, but Kishane actually didn't get the best start relative to the field. Jordan Anthony was kind of gone. Trayvon Bromell was, a little behind Jeremiah Azu. So it was really Jordan Anthony. You're looking at Jeremiah Azu, Trayvon Bromell, and Kishane kind of like, neck and neck. And then, you start to get to the guys evening out as the race goes. And again, you're looking at Kishane just a slight, like barely a step behind, and then he actually is literally able to edge out Trayvon Bromell. And shout out to I can't find it. Somebody did say, I saw someone before said like, what does Kishane think about leaning and all that? I mean, clearly the lean, helped him out here. He's probably gonna go back to that interview and be like, yo, this, that, whatever. And what's great, the interview from Jamaican Jamaican National Championships last year. You can that's on the City Smag YouTube channel. That's when I went down there. And yeah, Kishane was talking about like, yo, why we worrying about a lean? Why we worrying about the dip? Why we worrying about all that? I got to get the whole race plan together. But listen, I think what this kind of shows is it's not that Kishane isn't worried about the dip, or it's not that he's not thinking about the dip, but your first task is to think about your race plan, right? Think about how you can execute in the actual race. And then when you are in a situation where you do have to dip and you are at the line, then you'll dip, right? Like if you're in that situation. So it's not taking away from that in any capacity, but it was kind of crazy, but that was that's Kishane. And I think outdoors, obviously he's on pace to potentially improve his personal best, whether we get to the whether we get to the 9.7s, but I think he's ahead of pace, right? For all intents and purposes, for me, this year, Kishane is ahead of pace from where he was last year. Because last year, he didn't go to the World Indoor Championships, but we saw him run the 6.48 outdoors. This year, we saw him run 6.46 outdoors, and then he runs 6.45 indoors. So clearly, he's in my opinion, he's in much better shape. Now, I would like to see him run some 200s, right? I'd like to see him run some 200s maybe in April or May or something like that. Obviously, we got Ultimate Championships at the end of the year, but we'll see what Kishane does. And then last one. So Trayvon Bromell, Kishane, both of them already proven outdoors, but I think that Kishane and Trayvon are going to be good because they already have, they are like in the best form of their lives. Jordan Anthony. Now, Jordan Anthony is going to be an interesting case. Obviously, this bodes well for what he can do outdoors. This at least shows that he can handle the pressure, right? He can actually handle the pressure. This was his first championships, and this was not a fluke championships. This was Kishane Thompson, Trayvon Bromell, two guys who I said already had been proven outdoors on the global stage. And Jordan Anthony was able to take them down relatively comfortably. My bad with the final, but relatively comfortably. Right, 6.41 ahead of 6.45. Again, I do like how this was insanely close. But Jordan Anthony proving that, all right, I am ready. I'm not letting the moment get ahead of me. I'm not letting the excitement, all the lights, even the potential pressure, right? Like all of that. I didn't let that get to me, and I actually showed up and performed to the best of my ability. So I like Jordan's potential for outdoors. This to me just builds more of a case, for his 9.75, a little bit windy last year. It builds a case that like, okay, that wasn't a fluke, right? That was okay, just the hype of the NCAAs, but like you put that performance down, now you can actually prove yourself outdoors, right? Now I can very likely envision you, getting close to that outdoors this year. I'm not going to say he's definitely going to run 9.75 legal or whatever it was. But I do think that sub 9.8 is definitely on the table. Definitely on the table for Jordan Anthony, like by far. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see how these guys actually do all play out outdoors. But we'll see what's up. All right, let me get to a few of the comments. Give me 1 second. But yeah, this was good. I think this race lived up to expectations. Personally, for me, it lived up to the hype. I think that, yeah, this lived up to the hype. Let me just circle back because I saw a few different comments from y'all, but Yeah, this is crazy. Um, I think Kishane, this is in regards to Kishane. I think this would be good for Kishane, for him to be able to, try and run a few 200s to build up that speed endurance. This is only the 60, because remember, the 100 meters is a whole different beast where we've seen him get run down by the likes of Oblique, Noah, et cetera, et cetera. So how can he actually build up some of that speed endurance? I think the 60 here, it's such an interesting thing because he just didn't have the like quote unquote race that you might have expected from Kishane in terms of getting a very, very good start. He just didn't get a good start relative to the rest of the field, right? But he was able to kind of come back. I mean, in the last like 20 meters to again out dip, Trayvon Bromell. But I would like to see him, would like to see him run some 200s outdoors. So we'll see. Let's see. Let me just circle back. Yeah, right? So Jordan now has experience against two of the three fastest 100-meter guys in history, right? He literally has that experience now, which is huge. He literally just beat out Kishane Thompson and Trayvon Bromell. Both Trayvon Bromell 9.76 seconds. Kishane Thompson 9.75. Like two of the fastest in history, and both of them have run 9.7 multiple times. So big performances from all these guys. From Jordan Anthony. Let me just circle back. Okay. Yeah, and I'm a big proponent for this, right? All the great sprinters can run 100 and 200 meters. So again, I spoke about this a few weeks ago where it's like, look at Asafa Powell. Asafa Powell ran 19.9 seconds, like relatively early in his career, like in 2006 or something like that. He was and he could have run, or no, was it 2006 or 2010? I keep forgetting. But regardless, like Asafa Powell was capable of running a fast 200. Now, I don't think athletes need to run a fast 200, right? 100-meter sprinters don't need to run a fast 200, but it is beneficial to support their 100, right? We've seen what happened with Oblique Seville last year, where he ran multiple competitive 200s early in the year, and that really did play a part with the second half of his race, on the Diamond League circuit, and then of course at the World Championships, where he runs down the entire field, right? I think that was very beneficial. I think with Kishane Thompson, obviously we know his biggest weakness is the second half of his 100 meters. So if he does, and this isn't a one-to-one, direct, okay, he runs 200s and then he automatically is going to be, successful in the 100, and get his entire race together. But it's just building blocks to get a full and complete 100-meter race together. That's the ultimate goal. Between, Asafa Powell, Usain Bolt, Justin Gatlin, Tyson Gay, Johan Blake, like you're talking about the 5 fastest 100-meter athletes of all time. All of them were capable of running some strong 200s, right? Again, Asafa Powell is the only one who didn't actually, fully see the 200 through, but he barely ran it. And through barely running it, he ran 19.90. And Asafa Powell actually made the Olympic final in the 200 in 2004. People forget about that. Now, he pulled out of the race. I think he was dealing with an injury, but he's a world-class 200-meter sprinter, right? Back in his day. So I think Kishane would definitely benefit from some 200s. So yeah. Okay, so you said that I don't think Kishane is ahead of last season prior to World Champs. His season was almost identical to last year. He just ran more races to get more chances to lower his times. In my opinion, he's in the same shape. Fair, but the way that I'm looking at it is because he had the opportunity to run all these different races, that is likely going to lead to a better outdoor season, if that kind of does make sense, right? I'm almost looking at it for what we actually did see. I understand the idea of like, if he did run more races last year, he probably would have been in better shape, but he didn't. So now going into the outdoor season, he has run these 60-meter races. He has been able to, to get into get into form. And I think that that's going to be, more beneficial for outdoors. All right. So we're going to get Coach Rob up in here. Coach Rob, you here?
Hey.
Hold on. My headphones so I can hear you. I didn't even good, but
okay. Well, hey, it's World Indoor Season. I mean,
right.
We definitely had to get down with the community. So I know. I mean, hey, I know you. Don't let me break the flow. I'm just here to participate.
No. We're rolling. We're just getting the comments going. But I mean, let's. I mean, what do you think? The 60-meter final. We just kind of went through everything. Jordan, Kishane, Trayvon. I mean, what would you say? What's your initial thoughts after the race finished up?
I mean, I aired some of it out in my, video, post finish, where to me, this is because the thing is, remember we had the conversation back pre-USAs, and that back half when we said, well, let's talk about the Americans going. We kind of assumed he would be going, and I was like, he's supposed to win. This is like so far he's following the script where now I've seen what I needed to see, because it wasn't just winning, it was when he won, because it's like, hey, you get a window. And that window is that first year when you leave to let us know. Because if you struggle in that first year, I mean, you might make it, but to be clear, chances are you're not one of those guys.
Because makes it more questionable, yeah.
Yeah, because those guys show up early and make it look like they belong here, and then they never leave. It's not like they have a pop and then they disappear. So I mean, that was just my initial, like, okay, like this is what we just witnessed. But I mean, hey, let me know your take, because I mean, Levell got hurt. I mean, or pulled up. Let's say that Akeem didn't make the final, so I know neither of these were ideal for the Jamaican contingent. And hey, my heart goes out to you all, because we wanted Akeem in the final. I think everybody did, who really wants to see the best possible race.
Yeah. We were, so both of them unfortunately they got injured apparently. So Akeem Blake, he apparently picked up a back injury like a week ago. And then obviously we saw, Brian, well, he had like an ankle sprain, or he twisted his ankle or something like that. So, obviously he pulled up there. But I mean, with that, so I had similar sentiments about Jordan, where I'm like, okay, he just like proved himself here, where it's like he showed, because it's one thing to run fast, at USAs or on the circuit, and obviously the Windy 100 that he had last year. But now he came to his first international, like this is the first time he traveled outside of the United States, like in his entire life. And you could have been blinded by like the lights, but no, he showed up here and actually executed, and not just executed, like he ran a fast time against proven guys. Like Kishane and Trayvon are proven medalists at the World Championships in the 100 and all that. So yeah, Jordan, before like even going to Kishane and them, like, what do you think this means for Jordan going outdoors, whether it's like this year or like just in the future?
Confidence right now. Confidence right now. I mean, because I've thought this through, like in the heat, because there's certain things I kind of notice about athletes, and the general conclusion is right now he's in a phase of his career where he has no chill button. Most track athletes remember that phase. The thing is, how soon or when was the moment when it turned off, or like that switched? For some people, it was high school. You dominated in your local area, and you had no chill button until you got to college. And it's like, wait, I'm not that good. Or you got to college and dominated. Or you went through college, dominated through, get to the circuit, and like, oh, snap, it's different here. He has still never hit the chill button. See, losing to Akeem, he was able to shrug it off, because now, from what this is, so far, that was an aberration. That's not who he is. He's not a guy who loses to Akeem. He's a guy who things happen, like he's human. However, at this moment, he still believes he is supposed to win against the best. And he has real evidence now to go along with it. Because, I mean, I'm looking at some of the comments. My thought is, for what Jordan Anthony is, because top speed, like people ask if he ever broke 20 in the 200. Yes, he ran 19.9. I remember watching it with my own eyes. So, I mean, that said, the moment I see if he's with you at 40, he's gone. Because everybody else is making their meal ticket on the start or the first part of the race. So I was watching when I saw 40, 45, like, oh, this is over. Y'all not this crew, not that group. Now, if Noah was next to him, that's different. If Oblique was next to him, I might even say, all right, fine. Because I think he's shown that he can kind of blitz the back half of a race. But not for this crowd. I was like, Kishane got to have you at 40, like, for me to feel confident that Trayvon, same thing. Because he shot out like a rocket in that semi. And then this one was not that. He still ran 6:45. Still great race.
Yeah, so crazy.
All things considered, it's just, I mean, and they really just out-talented Jeremiah Azu. Yeah. He was last year's champion. And no disrespect to all them guys who showed up last year, but you see why people be not really taking Lockie Kennedy and them seriously? Because they were not this. They were actually in the gap between the back of this field and what the front half did. And I believe Brian Levell would have been with that front half, like in this. I think he would have broke 6'5". I believe that if he were healthy.
Yeah, probably. I guess with Brian, I just wasn't sure because he ran 6'5s. He ran 6'5'3" in the rounds, in the heats, and the semis. So he probably would have broken 6'5", but I think it just left me with more questions because like Kishane ran 6'4" in the semis. So it was like, all right, he already knows what time it is. Like you have no, you know, Trayvon Bromell is running 6'4" and you run 6'4'7" and you're getting walked down. Like you realize, okay, in the final you gotta, show up. But Brian, in his semifinal, he didn't have one of those big semis. Like he ran 6'5'3". It was comfortable for him. So I'm not even sure. I thought he had a lot of potential, but I just wasn't sure of like what he would actually do in this final. But probably getting under 6'5" would have made sense for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he still could have ended up in that 5th spot.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true.
So, but Kishane, we got to get to the silver surfer competition. I'm sorry, we have to.
Okay, no,
we have to.
So I am curious on your thoughts because I personally was like, obviously another silver medal, but I actually think this is holistically a good performance for Kishane because it's just showing consistency to me, where it's like he's getting, every time he's been to a championship, he's gotten on the podium. And yes, it just happens to be silver, but the consistency is there. 2024, 2025, and then now indoors in 2026. And it wasn't like he got silver running 6'5" or like last year with Lucky Kennedy, he ran 6'5" to get silver. This is like he ran 6'4" and beat out Trayvon Bromell, who's in the form of his life, in the final. So, but I don't know. So I don't look at it as like, silver surfer, but I wonder what you think about Kishane.
Here's another. You're right, but remember, let's talk about these races like they actually matter. Let's do that for a moment. If we're going to do that, then this is what the baseline is in my mind: 3 global championships, 3 silver medals, 3 different guys beat you. That last part cannot be understated because we want to believe that you are one of the best, but we keep finding a new guy to beat you. And that is, you see what I'm saying? Like it's a difference of, stature or kind of processing. Because it's not like the same guy. It's not like Gatton losing a bolt multiple times. This isn't that. So how do you say he is cleanly? I'm still on cleanly. I know, I get it. Fastest in the world. Like I'm not here to argue with people about how they see the sport. I'm saying that how can you cleanly say, all things considered, he is like he's in that top crowd. It's just he, for whatever the reason, it's kind of like Kenny B. Same concept. In that top crowd, but it was Noah ahead of you. It was Basile ahead of you. It wasn't like the name can switch. It was Andre DeGrasse ahead of you. So this is the second athlete who I'm starting to put in that same category of like, we're always expecting you to be there, but I'm going to stop expecting you to be at the front. Now, this is 60, not a 100. However, it's 3 different global championships, which is why I'm saying there's a pattern there. Because Akani's been in dealing with the same thing, just off the podium.
Yeah, just the 4th and 5th.
So he got a bronze at World Indoor, but Ronnie gets hurt. Keep that in mind. Like on the way to the line, for how Ronnie runs, I expected him to take him down in that last 15, and before everything goes left. So then that would have been another 4th. I mean, I'm like, to be honest, it would have been another 4 points.
In the hypothetical. I mean, maybe
he got the bronze. Congratulations.
Yeah, he got the bronze. I mean, so I hear that. I definitely hear that. It's like, different people that Kishane has lost to, but I do wonder, because I still look at the idea, and I know someone was like, improvement is upgrading your hardware, but he's also upgrading his individual. Now, last year he didn't run faster than the 100 at the World Champs, but it's not like he's running slower. It's not like he's getting slower, right? It just so happens that the world around him, to a degree, has been like stepping things up. So it took, Noah running a personal best at the Olympics to get the gold. It took Oblique running a personal best. It took Jordan Anthony, running a personal best here. Now, that does mean he's going to have to figure things out to, be able to get up to a gold medal. And, Jordan Anthony is younger than Kishane. We were talking before about like, maybe he got to dip into those 200s because we know the second half of his 100 is where he struggles. But overall, I at least I like his consistency, and I think this builds this is like a springboard or at least a baseline to get to a gold medal potentially. Because I always circle back to Frankie Fredericks in the 1990s, where he got a bunch of silvers, and then he eventually did get a gold medal at the World Champs in the 200 after like literally like 3 or 4 silver medals. But it just took time, after he was like kind of put in that box. I still see that for Kishane, but it's not going to be easy because again, you didn't have, enter in Oblique Seville, Noah Lyles, like all of them outdoors. It still is going to be that competitive landscape. But yeah, I don't know. I actually overall think this is good. But I do want to ask, because I remember in our conversation, you were saying you don't see Kishane running a personal best this year. So faster than his 9.75 from last year. Based on this, do you think that he will actually get a personal best, whether it's matching it or let's just say 9.74? Do you think he's, trending towards that form?
I'm not going to throw random stuff at the wall. I'm going to use some type of analytical logic that makes sense to me. Nobody said that it's, pristine, but it's something. So Trayvon Bromell 642 was his PB. He ran it in the semis, ran 645 in the final. I mean, I saw a comment. Somebody said, like, he ran his final in the semi. I mean, it's a 60-meter dash. Like, it's different. It's not quite as precise as we might want to believe as an event. Like, you kind of have no choice but to kind of go. And I mean, it is what it is. So using that, Trayvon is as fast as he's ever been. And how fast has he ever been? 9.76. And what that tells me is Kishane is as fast as he's ever been. But we're talking about going to the other side of the sound barrier, for lack of a better term. And because, again, people want to see fast times. And trust me, in the current ecosystem, I kind of want to see them too. But we're going to have to admit that Bolt threw everything off the grid and took a bunch of people with him. And I don't want to depress people, but I started looking back at a lot of results, which on some things I'm going to talk about on the channel later, from 08 till now in the 100. And I started noticing a bunch of names that this one got banned. Oh, DQT. Oh, yeah, all those results don't count. You see what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people got brought to the other side or did some things and then never to be heard from again, or we just took a bunch of stuff off the board. So that's why I say 9.74, 9.73, like, I lower my expectations. That's the best way to put it. Like, Kishane has already shown us that he can run incredibly fast times, yes. But it's like, I guess I'm not ready to put that type of pressure on an athlete to be expected to run 9.7 low and forget about 9.6 anything. Like, that's not a part of my language anymore.
Yeah, that's a little far out for anybody. Yeah, like for anybody, literally. No, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. I think Kishane running that 9.75 last year, in my opinion, kind of broke open the door. Obviously, everyone's kind of been, we've seen, the Trayvons and, all these guys running 9.7s and, the Noahs and then, of course, Kishane. But like running that 9.75 and essentially getting right behind Justin Gatlin, that to me opened the door. And now, even going back to the idea of him having multiple silver medals despite running fast, I think he realizes I have no choice but to do better, but to get faster, or else I'm going to be stuck in this kind of like purgatory of second place. So I think it's almost like going to be motivation, and that will lead him to getting faster. Now, again, I'm on the same page. I'm not talking about any 9.6s, but I think 9.73s, 9.74s are more realistic, even just based on what I've seen from this indoor season. Not 100%, but I think it's possible.
See, I hear what you're saying, but I'll say it this way. I stopped in on a college meet earlier this week, and I think they ran the Open 200 on that day. And the athlete, he was talking to his coach, like mid-major D1 level. And he was talking about, his performance. And I'm friends with the coach, so I asked him, I was like, hey, do you mind if I, because he asked some questions and the coach was, talking to different athletes. So I was like, hey, I can help him with this a little bit. So the conversation I have, like, you do realize track athletes are notorious for not knowing how to compete because they're too busy trying to perform.
That's fair. That does make sense. That does make sense.
Jordan Anthony is a competitor. That's what he is. When I say he has no chill button, what I mean is he thinks he can beat anybody in the world. Forget about the clock. He just thinks if it's me versus you, I can line up and go get you. That's where his mind is. The clock just kind of happens as an extra because up until now, his whole career has been people line up with me and I get to that line ahead of you. How I do it doesn't really matter. And I'm looking at his report. NCAA's last year, that's what he did. How he did it didn't really matter. He just found a way to that line ahead of everybody else, regardless of the clock.
Yeah.
Noah Lyles is probably one of the greatest like combo performers and competitors. The difference is both what I think what he did, which confused people, is he didn't, how put it, the competition for him was different because he knew it was a competition between him and only him. He was the only person who just had to be himself. Everybody else had to try to perform well or compete well. He was like, I just got to do me. And I've got some cushion to mess up. So now he could start having fun with it once he realized that's what we're doing here. Kishane could get faster or he could compete better. Somebody asked, like, why are we so hard on him? This is the most respect we can give him. There's a lot of people in that race I wasn't talking about. Are we here mentioning Emmanuel SMA? Some people pronounce his name Asim. Some say SMA. We don't even know how to say his name correctly. And he's been out here for a while.
Shout out to my man, Emmanuel. Shout out to Kim.
I'm not trying to knock him. I know him. Like, if I see him in the street, I'm going to say what's up. But in the context of, when's the last time you seen him on a thumbnail? Or on an article?
Visuals,
or released on a... I'm trying to say that just being fast doesn't get you in the conversation. Kishane stays in the conversation because he, right now, Asafa Powell is the last one to do this, where you got to the other side of the sound barrier, and now we're expecting the hardware to catch up. That's why people keep toting the world lead and the personal best and all of that. I'm like, this is all trackety track language. I'm from the non-track world coming into it. And in those worlds, everywhere else, winning is how you do it. Nobody cares how many, like Bam Adebayo just scored 83 points in an NBA game. And people were like, he's not good. That's how they felt. The feeling was he's not a good enough scorer to be on that list. And guess what? People immediately started not caring. Because they just blew it off as like that performance had a lot of context around it that he got that result. But competitively speaking, do we really think him versus some of these best people out here, we gonna take him? No. And I think Kishane has shown us he's in that crowd. He's in that VIP room. You see what I'm saying? Like he's in that room. He's just not necessarily like sitting on the throne. And it's like we've been waiting, and he's been like right there so many times. And like I said, somebody else keeps beating him to the throne to the point where until he does it, just like Oblique, until he does it, we're going to be like, okay, again, the most respect I can give him is to actually care when he runs, because a lot of sprinters out there who I don't pay attention when they run, and they might be bad, and they might make a final. I'm just not checking. I'm checking for Kishane. That's what I'm saying. Like I see him in such high regard as talent.
Yeah.
That's why I even consider, like, okay, because yes, I thought Jordan Anthony was going to win anyway. So I actually think it was a great run for Kishane. I really do.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it was. It's just, does this tell me that in 2027 I'm taking Kishane over Jordan Anthony? That I don't know if I can tell you.
Okay, so that was going to be, well, that leads to my second question, another question, but like, I don't know. Well, okay, just my other question, because I definitely hear you. Obviously, Kishane is insanely talented, but there's a level of like even him. I don't know. I think this is just another stepping stone for him because like this is a completely new realm. Like he. Like indoors, getting a medal against a high quality field, that kind of just adds to his repertoire for me. And again, going back to that motivation aspect. But the other question I have is, okay, we saw Jordan Anthony get the gold medal here over Kishane and Trayvon. Looking forward, are you confident that Jordan will be able to beat the likes of a Kishane or like outdoors in the 100 and be in the conversation with Noah and Oblique, et cetera, because this is still the indoor 60. Like Kishane, we saw him show up for the first time ever. Like the first time that he ever ran, 3 full rounds was, he ran at Jamaican Trials in 2024 and the Olympic Games in 2024. And he got a medal running 9.7. Like that doesn't actually happen, running the 100 meters. So I don't know. I'm not 100% sold that, okay, Jordan Anthony beats Kishane Thompson here. He's definitely more of a favorite to beat him out, when we look at the world championships in the future, because the 60 to the 100 is a very different beast. And this is all with the understanding that Jordan has been NCAA champion. He ran that windy 9.7. Like he has the chops, and I think he's going to be a challenger. But I don't know if I'm ready to say, all right, I'm putting him directly right now in the same conversation as Oblique, Noah, Kishane, and adding, other guys, whatever. I don't know.
On expectation, I would. And I'm not saying that frivolously because I'm considering the report. What do the greats look like? What do they look like at this stage? They look like this. I blew off the 9.7 and said, well, 2.1, but a bunch of people ran crazy fast. Like now I'm going to change remember, I said I was wrong a while ago. So I've changed my stance. He's going to run 9.7 again. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen legal.
Oh, yeah.
If he runs 9.7 again and it happens legal, how many people are no longer in the conversation with him if he's executing? Most.
Of course.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Like you just hop past the Connie. You see what I'm saying? Like, Jordan Anthony, Kenny B in full tilt? Who I'm taking? Jordan Anthony. By the time that conversation is a real one to have, like not today, but by the time that conversation is a real one to have, especially 2027, assuming everybody's healthy and giving their best shot. Because remember, this man ran Kenny B ran a 9.79 Eugene.
Yeah,
for like a plus 2.0.
Yeah.
So like with that's not off the grid in terms of like if for what other races he'd run in the 9.8s and the 9.9s, like that's in the realm of reality for a lot of different things. What this tells me is I've ratcheted up my expectation level. Again, the greatest respect I can give him. I've changed my expectation for Jordan Anthony. I don't see him as certainly after winning a gold medal in the world stage, but I don't see him anymore with like the other up and coming American sprinters. He's supposed to do stuff the same way that people, if you go back and look at Noah's performance on the pro circuit, I'm about to do some content on my channel in the next coming weeks. You should have known, I should have known because I wasn't paying attention. As early as 2018, 2019, Noah was showing you he was going to be a champion in the 100 on the world stage. You were seeing the warning shots. Who was he beating? The races he was like actually coming out on top. He still had a lot of work to do. But he had already shown the evidence. Jordan Anthony is showing the evidence. If you walk off a college campus and then walk into a world indoor and win, and they gave him a challenger field that was worthy. They didn't get, again, no shade to the other crowd that we saw last year. It wasn't that field.
Yeah, no, we know the field last year was drastically more watered down than what we had this year. Drastically. I can hear that. I guess for me, it's almost like how I was thinking about personally, Kishane coming into this world indoors is the way that I'm thinking about Jordan going into outdoors. I agree. I think this year he can run 9.7. Now, again, I don't know if he's going to match that, that exact, 9.75 or whatever, windy time. If he runs that legal, maybe he runs 9.79, 9.78, in some one-off or something. He's more than capable of that. But I personally am not just ready to slot him right in and say, okay, he is right in that same conversation as Oblique, Noah, and Kishane when talking about like the 100 meters on the global stage. He may win USAs. He may, do all these things. Again, we've seen Kenny B do it, and we've seen Kenny B kind of like tear up the circuit. But, when you get to the world champs, it's a different beast. And yes, I know this is like getting a gold medal, but 60 to 100 is very different. So it's not like I'm not downplaying Jordan in any capacity, but I just am like, all right, he has the potential, but I want to see him do it before I'm like, okay, he deserves to definitely be in there.
Do we have a list of all the past 60-meter world champions? Like we can
Yeah.
pull one up, right?
Yeah, I have it up actually.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I mean, events go through waves, like they kind of go through ebbs and flows. Like remember, there was the Bolt era, then there was like that little zone right after where things wasn't quite the same.
Yeah.
So
Hold up one second. Here we go.
yeah, you're pulling it up. Yeah,
Okay.
so these are the champions, right?
Yep.
In that
These are
left column.
all the champions on this
Yeah.
column.
All right. So if we look at this list, let's go through the names, and I'm going to narrate them the way that I see fit. So Jeremiah Zoo, indoor merchant. Christian Coleman, world champion. I'm talking about 100. Lamar
Yeah.
Marcel Jacobs, 100-meter Olympic gold medalist. Christian Coleman, still world champion, like the talent. Trayvon Bromell, he was just coming off his college window, but multiple-time world medalist.
And he already
Oh,
won
yeah.
a medal outdoors right before this.
Yeah, so he just walked off of campus and was doing his thing. Richard Kilty, indoor merchant. Justin Gatlin. And here's another thing. Look at who Richard Kilty was running with.
Yeah, Marvin Bracey.
Yeah, like
yeah.
that takes the same thing with the whole, no disrespect to the Zoo, another Great Britain win. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And then you go up to Dwayne Chambers, right? Because Justin Gatlin, he's legit,
Obviously, yeah.
gold medalist, all of that stuff. Dwayne Chambers, indoor merchant.
Yeah, Dwayne Chambers, he has a medal from 1999 outdoors.
Yeah, I remember that. Like he was running for forever, but like,
so it's like
in the middle.
He's at least proven himself to be like, okay, I can medal outdoors in the 100, and then he came back and got.
So we'll stop at 2010 because after that we're hitting names that nobody's paying attention to. So
I was gonna say there's some names back there of like
I remember Leonard Scott, but like you got to. There's a lot of explanation now.
Yeah.
A lot of explanation.
It gets tricky with the history of things, but
yeah. So for the most part, what I'm saying is, if you walk off the campus, like look at the fields. The field that Jordan Anthony just beat is at least as good as the fields we're seeing in these other ones.
I'm mad at that.
I'd say it's at least as good as any of those other fields. And we've seen how many guys who were able to. That's why when you say the 60 and 100 aren't connected, that's a lie. It clearly is. The issue is, are you a 60 merchant or are you able to convert it over? But don't tell me it's not connected. Otherwise, Asafa Powell wouldn't have been able to run as fast as he could in a 60.
Yeah, I mean,
or Justin Gatlin or Trayvon Bromell, or like the guys who are on that list of elite 100-meter guys. You go look at the 60 list; it's still the same people for the most part.
In general, there are some guys like, again, when you go back in history, like Andre Kaysen, he won a world indoor gold and he's run 6.41. But like, I mean, outdoors he has one medal, like a bronze, but it's not like it does get indoors gets tricky.
Yeah, but you're talking again like eras.
Yeah.
I guess I kind of cut off. I call it the modern era. I feel like the modern era started after 08.
So essentially the Bolt era.
But that was the beginning of, because we were just coming out of the dark ages with all those suspensions and everything.
Oh yeah, with the Balco scandal.
So that's why I say like the sport was kind of rebuilding itself after a wave of, names that we don't need to bring up right now that were dropping fast hundreds, and then like this, because Asafa kind of comes to promise in that same time.
Yeah, he comes,
which is kind of it was like a kind of like a rough zone to try to be the best. Just because Justin Gatlin got caught up in it, and then somehow dug his way out of that era and came back in another one. He was like the phoenix that rose from the ashes. Like he actually literally had to have a resurgence.
Nah, that makes sense. I mean, yeah, I definitely hear that. I think at least at minimum, it will be, some Jordan Anthony. He's always going to be in that conversation. I think there are now those expectations of like, okay, you showed yourself here, now prove it again. Make sure that you got to maintain this and like make sure you prove yourself once again, because everyone is like, okay, you should be in this conversation. I'm just personally like, I'm not ready to say, okay, Noah, oblique, Kishane, Jordan, etc. Like, I'm not ready to say that's the same thing, but Jordan should be able to step up there. That's what should be able to happen.
Last year, the top 4 sprinters going into the Worlds, I think most people who were paying attention to the season would have said Noah, in no particular order, Noah, Kishane, oblique, Kenny, right?
Oh, yeah.
So here's the question. From what the evidence we'd had today, Do you believe Jordan Anthony is at the bare minimum in the 100-meter dash able to go toe-to-toe with Kenny and flip a coin?
Flip a coin? No.
So you think Kenny's better?
I think let's say if they ran 3 races, I would pick Kenny 2 times out of those 3 times.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd say 50-50 at the bare minimum between them. Because Kenny is so consistent. He's so rock solid. And if you don't have the capacity to, it's like he's able to hit consistent 8.8s, 8.9s, 9.1s on a scale of 10 on execution, but he never gives me 9.7. And I don't mean on the time. I mean like 9.6, 9.7 execution out of 10. Like I feel like I never get that. It's just consistently 8.6 to 9.1. So he always leaves a window. That's how I feel. He always leaves a window. To some degree, I think that's maybe how I see Kishane. I think his ceiling is higher, but I don't think we've never seen a 10 from him in a championship.
No, I mean,
like there's never been a perfect 10 from him. I mean, today I would call that a 9.1. For what I expect of him, I'd say that it wasn't a bad race at all. It's just I know there's more.
So what do you think of so for example, someone like Akani Simbine, where he's been on the circuit for a decade plus or whatever, and getting to every single final, finishing 4th and 5th place and all that stuff. And then he comes to indoors and, he finishes 3rd place last year behind, Jeremiah Zhu and Lockie Kennedy. But that doesn't show like what he's capable of outdoors, because he still makes the final, whereas those guys, they weren't even in the conversation.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I wonder what you think of that in terms of relation for the 60 going into the 100. That's why I think Kenny, he's proven himself when it comes to global finals. Now, it's not getting on the podium, but it's like you don't make an Olympic final in one of the fastest, 100 meters in history. You don't make a world championship final and only finish behind Noah Oblique and Kishane without having proven yourself against the rest of the field. So that's why I'm like, I can't say Jordan based on just the indoor 60 is definitely going to be equal to Kenny,
As a competitor, this is how I see Akani Simbine. Simbine. This is a term that I don't think I've ever used on camera, but it's a term that I use in my lexicon. He's a crustacean. He's a survivor. He gets all the ounce of what he can get out of his talent. I just don't think he's the most talented guy there. I just don't believe that. So I can't see myself at this point. If he was ever going to win, I think, isn't that what, Anson said a while ago? He's like, the time is now. If Akani's going to do it, the time is now. I feel like the margins for error, because again, I just looked at all these pro circuit races. People don't want to acknowledge this. The most talented guys prove themselves. Yeah, there's a blip on the radar where Christophe Lemaitre takes somebody down, or Reese Prescott in some random freak race beats someone he likely wasn't supposed to beat. But guess what happens with all those freak moments? Those athletes lose immediately thereafter. They don't stay at the top. So since people like statistics when it suits them, so when we say Bolt is the best, whichever way you want to slice it, he actually was. You want to talk about winning on the circuit? He actually was. You want to talk about winning consistently on the circuit? He did that too. You want to talk about the gold medal? Like, that's why he broke the scale. Because he did everything better than you. No one's going to do that in this era. I just don't see that. So now we're going to have to go one for one and like actually start being a little bit more detailed in how we assess, because Usain Bolt was the no-brainer response on who's the best right now. Because there was no analytic you could come up with to pick someone else. You'd have to have your emotions in that. At least between 2009 and 2013, for example.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of have to be thinking more emotionally.
So I actually think what you said is actually why I'm not as, it's not, I don't want to say like not as confident, but just like I'm not ready to say, all right, Jordan 100% going to be there, because no one is going to replicate what Usain Bolt did, where it's like he had all the consistency. Right now, this era is too competitive, right? Like you literally every single year it's been, outside of, 23 and 24 with Noah, it's been a different 100-meter champion, and then you have a couple guys on the podium, in and out. But like the few guys in the case of like Noah and even Kishane, who do show that consistency, or the guys who are always showing up in the final, the obliques, the Kennys, that gives me more, I give them more credence of like, okay, you're not just a fluke, right? You're not just, okay, you show up and you do this. Like, no, you're consistent in some capacity. So that's what I'm waiting for Jordan to show. Now, granted, he can, and very
he
likely
got here too, though.
Well, but that's my point. That's why I'm not ready to say, okay, he's like equal. Like I could flip a coin between him and Kenny, because Kenny has been here and he's shown himself. Again, no podiums, but like you're just finishing behind oblique Kenny and Noah, Kishane and Noah. So again, this isn't like, I'm not downplaying Jordan in any way.
You remember Fred in 2021?
Say it again.
You remember Fred in 2021?
Yeah, at the Olympics.
Yeah. Well, again, I went back and see, because I keep referring to it. So if you're listening to the live stream, I already know by this point you're a real one. What I've been tracking is what I call the regular season title holder, essentially in the 100. Like, who is the guy? And then forget about times. Just who is the guy who is right now the king of the 100 on the pro circuit? And if you think of it like boxing, like who's knocking him off? And Usain Bolt obviously holds that title longer than anybody else and wins it more than anybody else, if you're looking historically from 08 till now. Fred in 2021, he took down the guy on the circuit before the Olympics. And then after the Olympics, takes down the guy who was the guy again. So what I'm trying to say is, outside of the championship, the evidence actually shows up. From early in 2021, if you were paying attention, if we knew what to look for, we should have seen that Fred was like if track and field was in a place where we knew, I mean, I might have to pull up the chart, but it's might be too much time. Where if we knew who was on the top of the throne in the 100, and then we see Fred beat them, it doesn't sound that crazy anymore for him to be in the Olympic final and get a medal.
Yeah.
But because we're not tracking these things, like there was no narrative in the sport, everything's a warm up. Like we act like the races have no value. Like, in other words, we don't know what to look for because we don't have the data prepackaged in the structure of the sport to know who would really be that type of athlete. So I'm calling it early, and I'm willing to be wrong, but I'm calling it based off of like, I think I know what to look for now. I look for domination in college, in the NCAA system, but you have to then back it up by walking off that campus and giving us a warning shot. And if you can do it indoors. Indoors counts as a warning shot if you can walk off and then win in the following year. To now say you are elevated to that crowd of athletes who we have to take super seriously. Like that if he had come to World Indoors and didn't make the final, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Yeah, no, it'd be a whole different thing.
We would view him through a whole different lens. If he came and was spotty on the way to the final and then got 5th or 6th,
it would have been a whole different.
We wouldn't be having, but that's not what happened. I'm going off of, because I said it before he did it, then he did it. And that's why because like I had an actual rubric. So I'm like, I kind of feel like I have to go down with the ship now, but I think the ship is going to sail. It's going to sail for a while. But if it goes down, I can go down with this ship. Because like, it's okay. Because there's a whole bunch of fast guys in America who think they can take him out. The problem is, I need to see them do it.
Yeah. No, of course. And again, like, let me be very clear. I think I am comfortable saying Jordan Anthony is the future of like American sprinting, and like one of the futures, along with, all the young guys of just like global sprinting for sure. Right. I personally am just like, I can't 100%, see him like, okay, now I'm slotting him right in. But granted, by the end of the season, he may end up going to World Ultimate Champs and, winning the gold medal, and next year probably, get on the podium. But yeah,
I got a question for you then. Jordan Anthony or Levell in the 100?
I'm probably picking right now. I mean, I'd probably pick Jordan, but it's actually closer than I want to say, because Letsile won a silver medal at the World Champs. he made the Olympic final in 2024 and he didn't get a medal, but he ran, that was one of the fastest finals. He ran 9.8 to be able to get whatever it was, fifth or sixth place there. So the problem with Letsile is sometimes I don't even know what he's doing. Obviously, I know that he's going to focus on the 200, but sometimes I feel like he's just like playing around. He's obviously dipping into doing the 4x4s. So I don't know if he's ever like, and yes, we see him on the circuit very frequently in the hundreds, but I don't know how seriously he takes them, overall. So that's why I like hesitate. Because again, Letsile has proven himself as a 100-meter sprinter. Like you don't get a 100-meter medal and, you don't get a 100-meter medal without being a proven general 100-meter sprinter. But I probably might look at Jordan Anthony. I might look at Jordan Anthony in that case.
And now I'll go to the guy behind him, Darnell Hughes. Jordan Anthony, Darnell Hughes. Where are you going?
No, right now I'm picking Jordan Anthony.
Now, my point is, on the world stage, it's actually not as thick as we pretend it is. There's people who've done stuff in the past, but if we're talking about the current state, I'm going to throw out all past evidence and focus on recency bias. It's Kenny, Noah, Kishane, oblique on talent and expectation right now. And last year validated it because they looked like it before they got there and still finished at the top of that group when it was all done. And they beat up on each other in different ways. Remember, oblique lost to Kenny B multiple times. It was twice.
Yeah, early in the year.
In Jamaica and then again.
Yeah,
so let's not pretend that didn't happen. But at the end of the day, then there's that second crowd, the group that's not them. And I think, depends on who showed up. Remember, Kishane wasn't at that World in 2023.
No.
I don't even know why.
His coach literally said that he was making sure that he was setting him up for long-term success. So he ran Jamaican trials that year, just the heats, and he ran like 991, and then he just pulled out. So yeah, his coach was setting up for long-term success.
Because I saw him at Prefontaine, and I saw him at that Diamond League and wherever in Asia.
In China, yeah, he ran Monaco, Prefontaine, and that Shaman Diamond League.
I was like, this guy's pretty good. I remember noticing that because he wasn't winning yet, but I was like, yo, this Kishane guy, he making me remember he in the races.
Yeah, he was running 9.8s. Like he's consistently running 9.8s. That was his coming out party that year. No, that makes sense. Yeah, okay, so yeah, there's that solid top crop.
I feel like Jordan Anthony's in between the gap, but at the bare minimum.
Yeah.
There's the group at the top, and then there's the group behind them. Like Christian Coleman fell to the chase pack. Trayvon Bromell fell to the chase pack.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. They fell for right now. They fell to the chase back in the 100 for what we've seen in the last few years.
Yeah.
Fred doesn't count anymore. Marvin Bracey definitely doesn't count anymore. These names are not a part of the conversation. So I see Jordan Anthony at the bare minimum in between the pack and them. I don't think the pack is catching him if he's doing it right. And by right, that's why I said his lack of a chill button cannot be underestimated.
Yeah.
Because until he will not chill until he's been given a reason to. And you want to know what it looks like to have your chill button never turn off? Noah Lyles. That's what it looks like. It looks exactly like that. You want to know what it looks like to have your chill button never turn off? Usain Bolt. That's the epitome of it. That's why he was able to dance around like that. Because he never had a reason to believe you were actually better. That's the thing that athletes deal with competitively. When you come to a competition believing, okay, I'm going to execute, give my best effort here, and maybe I can get them, but it might be beyond my control. When your chill button is still in the off mode, you never believe that. Even if you do lose, you assume it was something you did wrong. There's never a part of your mind that thinks they just had it. And athletes go from having that confidence, especially in sprinting, to then having it rattled. And then having to figure out how to coexist in this. Christian Coleman went through it, where he had to have his chill button turned off and then had to now come back and figure out how to reassert himself in the sport without having that ingredient anymore in his back pocket of just total unabashed confidence, because the evidence was no longer in his favor to walk in that way. And you can't fake it. That's the other thing. Either you have that or you don't. Jordan still has it because it hadn't been turned off yet. And unless somebody figures out how to hit that off switch for him, it's going to stay there.
So do you think that Jordan Anthony is more talented in the 100 than Noah Lyles?
Naturally, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Naturally, yes.
So then you see this going much farther, in theory, much farther than what Noah did. Because Noah, obviously, in terms of his 100, he's got to 979. Not like he's retiring anytime soon, but it's not going to be easy to get to that. But if Jordan is more talented and he's just getting started, then in theory, he should be, surpassing that for sure. And like with the idea of like him having no chill. If Noah had no chill, Jordan has no chill, but Jordan is more talented, then Jordan should be like rolling past that.
In the 100, because see, Noah's more naturally gifted towards the 2.
Yeah.
Than he is. And I think that's what all the evidence tells us that. But yeah, I mean, if Jordan Anthony can get it cracking, I don't think Noah can beat him in a 100.
Yeah, I can see that. I
say if, because I think Jordan Anthony is like the second coming of Tyson Gay, but with, again, in a different package. It's in a more, because Tyson was intense. He was so serious. He was so focused. He was so locked in. But I'd say almost to a fault. Whereas Jordan Anthony just don't care. Like, I don't know him personally. I'm of the impression that he realizes, you do realize we're just running races, right? Like, this ain't pressure. Well, you're running in straight lines. There's people out here trying to feed their families. They trying to, well, they don't know whether they're getting paid next week, and that's going to cover the light bill. And y'all worried about running in a straight line in a sport where nobody really pays attention anyway? Certainly not on TV.
Not the flashy sport. No, it's like, that's true. There's no chill.
This ain't pressure.
There's no chill. There's no chill.
I think that again, it's just I know it's a unique way to see it, but until it switches off. The 200 though, I'm not making any bets there with him this year.
Oh no. I'm not even.
I'm just expecting him to break 20 at some point.
Yeah, I'm not even thinking about his 200. Obviously, we know he has talent, but like that's not even in like my conversation for the time being, because that's a whole different. Like if you told me, okay, Jordan Anthony versus Noah, Trayvon, let's see, not Trayvon, sorry, Noah, Kenny, let's see, and Brian Levell, like that's a whole different conversation.
Oh yeah, I'm putting him in behind them. Yeah. So let the comment section. Let me clarify. This doesn't mean that we're saying he'll be there. Because he's still pretty raw as a sprinter, but especially in the 200, I'd say he's pretty raw.
He's pretty raw, yeah.
For what he's able to do, for where he might be now, I think there's a lot more tinkering to do under that hood to get it to where it could be. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if it goes 19.4 one day. I wouldn't be shocked if it went 19.3 one day. I just don't think that day is 2026 or perhaps even 2027.
Yeah, no,
maybe 2028.
I gotta see him in like some 200s before I even get to there, because I mean who knows, like that's a whole different conversation, but no, I hear that. Okay, I mean we'll see. I think overall though this was big. Like Jordan Anthony needed this. It was like, okay, you gotta prove yourself coming out of college, because we've seen a bunch of college athletes get titles but then flame out and like they just can't hang. Then but Jordan, at least he's like shown himself, and to me it kind of justifies, or it backs up that windy 9.7 that he ran last year of like, okay, this isn't a one-off, and he's been running 6.4s like consistently throughout the year. So
he took a step. That's the other thing that really, if I never clarified this for people who are listening, he took a step from where he was last year. I did not know that he would. I was expecting him to reproduce last year at best, might even take a step back, because that's what we normally get from a college kid leaving. The fact that he was able to take a step and it make it clear that it wasn't a fluke when he did. Because I think now 3 meets is enough. Tyson Invitational, we said, oh, he's at home. It's a fluke. They got different clocks. Then we got to USA's, and it's like, okay, well, it's USA's. And then we get to this, and it's like, okay, yeah, this boy got on a plane and flew to Poland and then did that. All right. Like, let's change our assessment. But you talked about the 400. I do want to ask what your thoughts were on not having any American women in the 400 final.
I'm not surprised. I mean, and this is like I say I'm not surprised because so Rosie Effion, Bailey Lear, like amazing, amazing athletes, you know, even when they were in college, Rosie Effion at Arkansas and Bailey Lear was at USC. But like overall, I'm not like even the 400 in general, with especially the women, was just like in general just an overall letdown. It just wasn't. I mean, it was. You had two women who ran 50 seconds in the semifinals, and you know one of them, Henriette Yeager, is a bronze medalist from last year. So I mean, I don't know. It just wasn't the high quality. You have Leaky Klaver, who's, you know, run fast in previous years, has a silver medal from 2024, but like, you know, she's kind of stuck in this 51 low range and is not really like executing. And again, it's like, we're not talking about, you know, Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone or Gabby Thomas or, you know, even Aaliyah Butler and Isabella Whitaker, like, you know,
Femke Bol, yeah.
Femke Bol, right? Like, we're not talking about that quality of a field here. So when I look at like the American women, like as amazing as you know they are as people as well. Like shout out to Rosie Effion. You know, she's, you know, gotten a chance to speak to her a bunch of times, but like when I'm looking at the quality here, I'm not too surprised. I'm maybe surprised she didn't make the semifinals. Bailey Lear made the semis, but you know, again, it's not as I don't know. It's not that great. It's not that great. But it's not too surprising
Yeah.
overall.
Well, that explains why they didn't send a team to, or they're not gonna send a team to World Relays.
I mean, the U.S. is like, I think the U.S. is always going with like these different meets, whether it's World Indoors, World Relays. If it's not the World Championships and the Olympic Games, I think the U.S. and the top athletes are just going to second guess, like, why should I go anyway, right? And especially when you're talking about World Relays, where on paper the U.S. doesn't have to go because they'll be able to qualify regardless. They should. I would like them to go just for the sake of the competition and like for the sport and everything. But like, I mean, I understand it, and yeah, I don't know.
I'm actually gonna say it this way because I watched the TV footage, like the coverage, and I know that like how they, you know, walk through things from the booth. Some of this is, you know, notes that are given to them, you know, like it's not like it's not all just organic conversation. There's a structure on what they're supposed to present. Before the men's 60-meter final actually goes off, like in context with Trayvon and Jordan in the coverage, like from an American perspective, the language was used. This is another major step to LA 2028.
Oh yeah.
Before the gun goes off for a 60-meter world championship final. My point is, without being in the room, I'm 99% sure now what's being said in these rooms, that if you're USATF, given the history of how America treats track and field, you say world championships and Olympics, I disagree. I'd even say Olympics is what matters. And they think of the world championships as a dry run for the Olympics. That's how I see it. I don't think the world actually matters to them. I think the Olympics matters and the world matters as a step towards it. Everything else, the question is, how much do we need this step on the way to the ultimate one? And that's why last year's World Relays debacle was considered, you know what, maybe we should just, because remember, winning the 4x1 at World Relays for the men, didn't they do that with Noah Lyles on the team, right?
That was 2024.
Last year, 2024.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, even in the 4x1, we actually sent some of our guys.
Yeah, that was actually the same team that ran at the Olympics. Like that was a good team. Kenny B, Noah, and all them. I mean, the only one wasn't, you know, Fred didn't run there, but yeah, like that was a team in 2024. That 4x1 was good, and that kind of actually
got swapped in. He wasn't there.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, Christian Coleman did run,
and that's where the pass went bad. Like the person who was new. No shade, just being honest. I love you, Christian. That's not the point. It's just in the general sense, that's where it went off. But I'm saying, like, World Relays we're not at a point anymore where America can send our bench and win. I think the world has caught up to us to a point where we can't get away with that. And in the 4x4, remember, they didn't make the final at World Relays at all for the men last year.
For the 4x4 at World Relays. Yeah.
And then the women lost to like Spain or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess then that also, I think last year, I don't know anything in terms of like background info or like, you know, backdoor conversations, but like last year might have been a justification for this year because they proved, okay, what happened at World Relays? I don't know. 4x1, the women lost. 4x4, the men didn't make the final. Oh, but we still, well, the 4x4, they didn't win gold at the world champs, but it's like we were still able to put our best foot forward, like field a team. We swept the 4x1s and then, able to, still run a very strong 4x4. Like that kind of provides justification of like, why would we send a relay to World Relays if it's not really indicative of what we can do at the global stage, right? Like that, again, not saying I agree with it, but it's just like I potentially may understand why certain decisions are made. I don't know. I don't know.
The problem is the absence of something else to focus on, because World Relays to this year, to me, was one of the few circleable things on the calendar.
Yeah.
And when you take the Americans out the 4x4, please let me know in the comments how y'all feel about this. I think the race loses a lot of juice. And I'm not saying that just as an American. I'm saying I believe that when they're not there, the win doesn't mean as much. Even if we drop the stick, it still means more to say we beat the Americans. That's the main argument. When they have a legacy of dominance and then they're not there. Because remember, they're not showing up just off of a win. Like, it's not that they didn't qualify. Like, there's no structure to say they weren't supposed to be here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It is true. Because you wanted to.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. I was going to say, like, I wanted to see a, run it back of last year where you have Botswana, you have the USA, you have South Africa, right? Like, I wanted to see that exact race once again. Now, whether or not it would have been, actually, last year, the times didn't even matter because it was like pouring rain. So, like, I don't even care what the times were. I just wanted to see that, that kind of field run back, to be able to make sure it's like high quality. But it's not going to be as exciting. It kind of takes the luster away from, okay, this is, it's a relay meet, but it's not like the relay meet. It's not like a championship, like we want, like they want to, pretend it to be. But, and also just on that, at least the last point on it is like, I also have a semi gripe with world athletics in general, because this World Relays is on paper used to qualify for world championships next year. And I think it loses its luster of like putting it in 2026 as opposed to in 2027 to like almost build up the pressure. Now, I know they needed, or I don't know if they needed to, but they put it this year maybe to fill in the gaps of like, okay, there's no Olympics, there's no worlds. Let's put in our World Relays, even though we have the ultimate champs. But like, maybe if it was next year, the World Relays, and it led up to the World Championships, then the athletes would have been like, okay, let's actually like show up here and, put our best foot forward and put our best team to, show ourselves like right before the World Champs. I don't know, hypothetical, but yeah,
I mean,
I don't know.
with the World Relay this year, then I'm asking for clarification. Then, are you saying that? So, what happens if USA doesn't run the 4x4 this year? They still qualify.
So it's 16 teams qualify, but to World Champs, and 14 of them come from World Relays. The other 2 come from like the world rankings and like descending order list or whatever. So like that's why USA runs so fast that like they're going to be at the world champ or
okay.
The
So
world
their conclusion. So what time do they have to use then?
It's like within a window, like just like same like qualification like timeline window of like within, I don't know, they give you like a 10-month window or something like that. Like,
so they're gonna run at like Texas Relay to Tom Jones and throw Gabby Thomas and them out there and expect that that's enough to book their tickets.
Well, I also need to check, but this I'm not even sure about. I think they can use different American. So like, let's say one of the college teams at NCAA's, either this year or next year, they run a fast 4x4. That can qualify because they're an American team. But I need to cross-check that. I need to actually cross-check that. But that's the thing. That's the thing.
And also that's sad. If I hear you, but if it's that simple, like if that's the hack, because if that's the case, I mean, just for people in the back, all of Trinidad's young women sprinters run for the University of Georgia right now. Not all, but like enough of them where they could just field a 4x1 and qualify for stuff
Yeah.
just running at a college meet.
Yeah.
Like
It's possible.
Trinidad ran. It had 4 girls.
Yeah,
Or
it's
4 women.
possible. It's possible. It's possible. But then it's also like think of when you go to the World Relays, the top teams there who actually do finish at World Relays, that probably eliminates most of the world. So by the time you get to like the 15th and 16th teams who need to qualify on ranking, it's like not going to be fast enough where the US can't just put out a B team and qualify at a random meet. Like it would have to be catastrophic for them to not, like, I actually don't know a world where they can't qualify for world championships. Like, so yeah, there's like too many fail safes for a team as deep as the United States to qualify. So yeah, they'll be there. They'll be there. I do gotta hop off though, because I got some stuff to do this evening. But I don't know. Any last thoughts on the 60 as we close out?
Well, I mean, looking at the comments, I think we covered it pretty well. I mean, at the end of the day, it's the race is over, the indoor season is over. So all the conversation is, for me, when are we going to see these runners again? Who knows? We don't know when we'll see all these guys on any track, much less it'll happen at some point, but nobody knows when we're going to see them, and certainly not when we're going to see this level of talent reassemble itself. And that's why I would we have to take this race seriously and appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah. No, I feel that. Well, we'll see it sometime in the spring. We still, granted, we got the well, at least for the men's 60, we're done. But we got the women's 60 tomorrow, the 4x4s and 400s and all that happening the rest of the weekend. So, and then straight to outdoors. So, hey, but dope. All right. Well, appreciate everyone pulling up. That was the 60s. And yeah, we got the rest of the world indoor champs, but we'll see how that flows out. But
hey, women tomorrow.
Yep.
Early morning.
Dope. All right. Appreciate it.